Okay, so let's see that we're doing the search controller. So that's another thing the Angular does, is that it follows the same design pattern that has been that was very, very popular a while back in on server programming and large enterprise applications, where you would split up applications into a design pattern called the model view controller design pattern. This was very, very popular, especially in Java, .NET, large applications where the model only manipulated data, interacted with the database, persistence, everything we did in the DAOs and JPA and data modeling, all that would have been our M in the MVC design pattern. Yes, we never really had a V, since we never talked about views, and that's not the point of this course anyway. The controller, we kind of worked a little bit on that when we worked on the on services, right, where we exposed the data layer with services, right, that was able to receive queries or events that manipulated that data model, right, either posting or putting or deleting or getting, right. So that was kind of like the controller part of this, that converted events, HTTP events, converted them into manipulation of the data model. Yes? So we worked a little bit. So we worked on the V, we worked on the C and the M, never on the V. Okay? What Angular has done is that same technique that became very popular and very mature on the server side, they have brought it over to the client development, right? Applications on the client have become so big and so complex that they can take advantage of these design patterns of breaking up your application into these three buckets, right? The view, right, is the HTML that handles everything about looking pretty, right, and laying out the content and rendering and buttons and forms. The controller, right, the ones who handles those events, like our search function, yes, and the model in this case, we have a movie model, right, that is a list of movies that presumably are coming from some service. We're not going to manipulate our own model, right? Instead, we're going to delegate that to the server. The server is going to maintain a model for us, right? But nevertheless, it's the same design pattern. So, all right, so we have a search. We did that already. We're going to we want to go fetch an array of movies. So let's do that. So first, we're going to import from our model. We're going to import the movie model that we built earlier, and we're going to have an array of movies here, and they're going to be of type movie array, an array of movies. Okay, strongly typed JavaScript. That's a new thing, right? Strongly typed JavaScript. Who knew? All right. So what's search going to do? So search is going to use our client, our movie service client that we wrote earlier, so that it can call find movie by title, right? The one we wrote earlier. So let's import it. And I think I gave it the name client, actually. There we go. What we're going to be able to do here is we want to be able to inject it. We want to auto-wire it. Right? The same way we would do that if we were auto-wiring a DAO or auto-wiring a JPA repository, right? We're going to do the same thing. We want to auto-wire this and want to make it available locally in this class. So in Java, you use @autowired, yes? Here is slightly different. The syntax is slightly different, but it's exactly the same idea. The way we auto-wire in Angular is that it's in the constructor. Things are passed in the constructor, right? They're instantiated and passed in. So we declare a private variable. We're going to call it service, and it's of type whatever we want to auto-wire in here. And for this to work, this one needs to have been declared as injectable and declared as a provider. Otherwise, it won't work. Right? So that's how the magic works. Now I have access to a service, And what I can do, instead of doing this dumb alert, I can do this dot service dot find movie by keyword. See that? And the keyword that we're passing here is the title. There it is. There's my title. Everybody okay? Now, if you remember, that function is going to go out to the server, a remote API. It's going to come back with a response. It's going to try and parse the response as a JSON object, right? Presumably an array. Okay? And it's going to provide it to us. The way it's going to return to us is as a promise. So we need to do a then again here. And hopefully here we have movies. Actually, no, we have a response. The response that's coming back actually, the response that's coming back is really an object that contains a search content that then has the array. So the array is inside here. So the response really is some object that has an attribute called search, which contains the array. See that? So that's what we're going to do. We're going to say this is the response, and what we're going to do here is we're going to say this dot movies is equal to the response dot search, because the search contains the array of movies. Yes? Okay. Awesome. Let's see. We don't really need this, and we don't need that. All right, let's see if this breaks. Okay, so let's inspect. Let's see if this works. If we go to a network and we type Batman and do search, so this went out. Notice that it actually went out to a server, right, to OMDB. If we click on it, we can look at the response, and indeed the response came back as we expected it, right, with the search. And hopefully this was bound to the array of movies. Yes? So what we need to do next is, well, how do we render this, right, as a list of movies? Right? We have the array, hopefully. Let's see if we can render that. Excellent. Let's work on that next.